In part one of this presentation, you were introduced to the major features of the new literacy spoken by all good infograzers and idea pickers. You also learned the grammar of this new literacy: visual space, visual progression, and visual differentiation. In part two, today you will learn to apply visual space, progression, and differentiation to your own writing so that you may remain in good standing as an idea picker and infograzer. First, let's briefly review visual SPD. Visual space refers to the white space between elements that sets them off as distinct chunks. The more white space, the more distinct is each chunk. Visual progression means providing a clear sequence to page elements with the tools of alignment, headings, and symbols such as numbers and bullets. And finally, visual differentiation, which is the application of formatting tools like color and size to provide contrast, further delineating each chunk. To illustrate these tools, let's take a look at a typical magazine. This is a custom health publication that you'll find in your doctor's office all over the United States. Let's look at a typical article and examine how the grammar of visual space, visual progression, and visual differentiation are used. Here's the opening two-page spread of a feature article. Spread is jargon for the use of adjacent pages. Let's look first for the points of entry. Entry points are individual elements that the reader can focus on. They're teases that entice the reader to linger and to sample the article instead of flipping the page. Let's count the entry points for No More Excuses. You see a flower by itself, point of entry. You see the main title, No More Excuses, done in a decorative font, point of entry. Then the subtitle, Get Over Yourself and Get to the Doctor, done in another font and a different type color, point of entry. The byline, another font and color, point of entry. Finally, set off by green rules, a block of text, a point of entry. Then there's the three-line drop cap for the W, done in that same decorative style, point of entry. The block of text itself is only 72 words. This is all the linear text that you will find on the entire 2 pages. If you look at Vigor Circulation, you'd calculate that each page in this magazine cost about $25,000 to produce. That's with all the labor, the overhead, the printing, the editors, the everything. Each page, $25,000. Now ask yourself, why an editor would choose to put only 72 words on a $50,000 piece of real estate? Get the answer, and you will understand how significant this new literacy is. On the left-hand page, we have even more points of entry. Certainly, the full-page, full-color illustration of the woman is the dominant point of entry in this page, and I will venture to guess that the editor paid more for that illustration than for the text. But each of the phrases and sentences are also points of entry. So busy, I don't have time, tests are painful, and so on. All points of entry. So, how many points of entry do we have on these 2 pages? No less than 15. 15 opportunities to catch the reader's eye and get them to stay. An invitation that was engraved visually, graphically, not literarily. Turn the page and the visual feast continues. First, we see visual progression in the form of a numbered list, 1, 2, 3, 4, with each number visually differentiated by its color, size, funky font, and horizontal placement. But look closer. Each patch of text under the numbers is again divided into excuse and rebuttal, excuse and rebuttal. More visual progression as well as visual difference provided by the font used for the words excuse and rebuttal and their larger size. Next, notice the generous use of white space to surround each of these points of entry, making them stand out as a separate, bite-sized chunk. Again, let's count the points of entry. To the 4 numbers, add each flower is a point of entry, as is the illustration of the book and pencil. The pull quote is a point of entry, clearly set off by the white space around it, the different font, the type size, and the color. The tip box is a distinct entry point, divided into 2 more points of entry with the title, How to Relax in the Waiting Room, and then the information underneath it. 126 words set off in a different font and color. Next to it is another tip box and point of entry, but this one is set off entirely by white space, and it reverses the green-black combination for heading and text. The largest entry point is the illustration of the man on the couch prior to the entering the exam room. Don't miss the word relax and the flower stuck in his pocket. 2 more entry points. Why so many entry points? So you'll stay, maybe even read a little. During this analysis, we've also seen how chunks are arranged according to that visual grammar, coordinated by space, progression, differentiation, and used along with the text to create the entire experience, an event that consists of far more than the simple decoding of words. Are we looking at a document here, or at a painting? Or is it something in between, a hybrid created by the new literacy? Now, this next example is from Fortune for Small Businesses, and it's a 1-page feature article, but it has no running text. Instead, there's only a series of headings with brief bursts of text after each heading. The entire message of the article is conveyed by the title, Opportunity Uncorked, accompanied by the image of the young man holding a bunch of grapes with the endless horizon of opportunity spreading behind him. The remarkable thing about this feature is that the image and headline are more important to the article's message than the text. The text here functions as support, a mere adjunct to the real communication that is taking place visually. Let's delete all the text on the right side, leaving only the title, deck, and image. Now you see the essence of this article. The editor of this article clearly does not expect the reader to read much of the text, if any at all, and you'll find out why in just a moment. Now, this next example is called an Around the World article because it can be read in any direction. Again, there are no continuous paragraphs. You can find out as much or as little as you wish about a gaffer by picking and choosing the different elements that you want to read in the order that you want to read them. Linear reading of a page, line by line, left to right, top to bottom, an essential skill of traditional literacy, it is essentially gone in this article. Matter of fact, several major features of traditional literacy have been substantially altered in these new texts that employ the new literacy. Let's take a look at them. First, the logical connection between elements. In traditional text, those connections are controlled primarily by the author with the use of organizational patterns and devices of coherence. It was your job, the reader's job, to find and understand those connections using your highly developed reading skills. However, in new text, the connections between the parts are merely suggested. The reader is free to put together the parts of a new text in any way that satisfies his or her needs. New text invite the customization of meaning rather than attempting to limit that meaning.